If you live in a poor country, does that mean you have to be a poor artist? What if I said you don't? And how about I give you some practical tips and advice while you watch me draw this today that will help you escape poverty as an artist no matter where you live. And learn how to turn your greatest disadvantages into your greatest advantages. So today's video is definitely meant for a very global audience, but it is not exclusively just for people that live outside the US in impoverished countries. And the reason why I wanted to make this today is because I hear this issue all the time. And people will write in my comments or in my discussions with me, say things like, well, Sean, I live here and things are different. Or because I'm over here, I cannot do that. And I'm gathering a global perspective on this because to date in my mentorship, I've worked with people in over 42 different countries, and I hear so many common concerns that I want to address for you, especially if you live in an impoverished country. And so as we go through this, what I want to help you do is reset your practices so that you will appeal to a much more affluent audience, and therefore you will become so as well. Wouldn't that be great? And if you've never met me before, by the way, my name is Dr. Sean and welcome to the Art Mentor. And so the first piece of advice I want to give you on this is that selling to people where you live is an absolutely fruitless practice. You are not going to get people to go ahead and buy your stuff where you currently live if you feel that the only thing you can charge, the only thing that you need today is $15 for your artwork. You're capable so much better, and we'll talk about why today too. Because you are tied to this idea that wherever your feet touch the ground is the best that you're going to get. And I will present to you many different scenarios of people just like you, from people in the same or worse conditions than you, that are doing outstanding and they are not popular artists. And so what I want to let you know is, it doesn't matter where you live. If you live in Brazil, if you live in the Philippines, if you live in Malaysia, if you live in Russia, if you go ahead and live in South America, if you go ahead and you live in Mexico, if you live in South Africa, I'm just shouting out my entire YouTube audience right here, okay? If you're in these countries and you need help, or especially if you have been able to do better, sound off in the comments, please, because I want people to be encouraged to know you can do better. But the number one thing that is going to hold you back is you thinking that where you live is the problem. It is not, friend. And we can address it now that we understand that. Moving on. Now, I want to give you this pinnacle piece of advice that you definitely need to do no matter where in the world you live, no matter what your currency is. Your biggest piece of advice is to start to appeal to a US-based clientele because there's a lot more money here. And so what you should definitely do right now is start to convert all of your prices to USD. Let me give you some hard examples to back up what I'm saying. First off, I have one mentee that lives in Mexico, and he does a lot of custom maps, like literally hand-drawn, and then brings them into digital and finishes them up for post-processing. And so he showed me how he quoted a client, ready for this one? $1,239.72. And I was like, dude, that's literally a mortgage payment. Like, that's a ridiculous, like, where did you come up with this number? And he, of course, came up with the same thing that you did, right? Okay, well, that is how much the conversion rate is. And I was like, dude, stop it. Like, that scares people from wanting to buy from you. And I know that's a big price, but I'll show you some smaller ones in a minute. But I literally told them, like, dude, just make it a round number, okay? 1,250, 1,300, 1,200, whatever it is, but just sit there on that. It's easier to digest and it's much easier to process for your clients. Another one, I have another client that lives over in Eastern Europe. And so when I took a look at what they were charging, it was like $242. And I was like, where did you come up with that number? That's such an oddball number. And they said, well, you know, that's the euro to the American dollar. And I said, okay, reverse that. Now, they went ahead and charged $250, and they're getting work for far greater than that as well. Because here's the number one reason why I tell you this. Odd pricing, like these examples that I'm giving you right now, they scream that you are not from an economic superpower country. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and I'm not giving my opinion on this. I'm giving facts about perceptions here. It gives the perception that you are a lower valued artist that might be a scammer, especially for people outside the US. This is something that we are very, very concerned with. And you don't want to present yourself like this. Your pricing is the first thing that a client sees and assesses what's called their value perception of you. So immediately, right now, switch all of your pricing to round numbers, US dollars. If that's $20, $50, $150, $500, but we've got far more than that. That's just a start. Next, what I want to encourage you to do throughout this video is to stop pricing yourself for poverty. All right, listen, let's be honest with ourselves here. Where you live right now, it's probably a little bit challenging. Where you live right now, you might not have things that other people that you see online have. Is that you? You might not have access to some things because of where you live. That's a fact, okay? The good news here is that when you enter the global market here, nobody knows where in the world you live. You do not, just because you live in Singapore, need to go ahead and think that you cannot ask for more than $35 for your artwork just because that happens to get you an entire week's worth of groceries. And I'm going to go ahead and elaborate on that really soon too, about how that can be so much better for you. But at the core, know that you can price whatever you see other people pricing. Look, our blood is the same color. It does not matter the fact that I am born here and you are born where you are, that my skin color looks like this and yours looks like that, or that your features are like that and mine are like this. None of it matters. It does not matter my gender, my age, my professionalism, none of it matters. People and clients online specifically, they're only going to assess your art. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to run this race to the bottom with undercutting and underpricing yourself to compete with people that honestly are not even going to be an artist anymore after 2 years because they will realize that it was not worth the investment. And I don't want that to be you because art is a fantastic investment. So do you have to price yourself down because of everybody else around you? No, don't do it. Price up respectably. You deserve it. Now, let's go ahead and let's stop this practice. And I'm not saying you gotta do it everywhere, and please hear me out before you go ahead and have a reaction about it. I'm gonna ask you now, please go ahead and remove all indications of your nationality only from your art selling platforms. And listen, I'm not asking you to forsake your pride that you live in Brazil. Shout out to my Brazilian friends that watch me every week. I appreciate you. But that is not helping you get more clients, better clients, or more money. And again, I'm not asking you to forsake your pride here. I'm just asking you to reconsider your branding presentation. And again, I'm going to say this and just explain to you that this is not my unique thoughts. These are not my opinions nor my prejudices. I don't care because again, I work with and help artists from all around the world, just like you. And the thing that you unfortunately need to know though, and here's the reality, is that when you live outside the US and Europe and you display all these markers and indicators, all these red flags, because that's honestly what they are as I go through this video today so that you can adjust them. What it does is it gives this perception that you are cheap, you are expendable, potentially too, they might consider you a risk. And so what I want to help you do is understand that you need to flip that paradigm so that clients, AKA your buyers, are not going to have that impression of you. I can tell you this from over a decade of doing this. Not one person has ever entered a conversation and said, hey, buddy, where do you live? Huh? Nobody cares. And so here's an example I have actually from one of the people I've worked with, and this is like so gross, but they actually told me about how they were working with an author who was working with other clients that were exclusively from Eastern Asia. And they only sought out those people. And I was like, that is gross. Like, why would you do that? That's so cringe on so many levels. Like, is it, first and foremost, I'm like, is that like a weird fetish thing? But then on the other hand, I was like, well, it's probably because they know that you're gonna undervalue yourself. And it's not worth it. So do not promote yourself as such, and then you will not attract people like that. The next thing that you want to do here is Clean up your conversations. Look, I understand. English may not be your first language. It may not even be your language, period, right? But nowadays, you have so much access to so many resources that can go ahead and clean up your dialogue. And look, I get it. Maybe you don't want to use higher value techniques like the ones I teach on how to talk to our clients and convince them to buy them from you. But look, definitely stop avoiding that. It is 2026. There are so many places, so many websites, so many softwares that you can use without paying any money for them, by the way, that can easily clean up your conversation. Because here's just the reality is that when you present yourself as somebody that uses poor grammar, wrong word choices all the time, and so on, you are potentially going to be a red flag for somebody and they're going to think that you're a scam. Like these are like the people that DM me on Instagram all the time with horrible grammar, but they somehow expect me to want to pay them to go ahead and boost my YouTube analytics. It's not real. It's not going to happen. I'm better than that. I'm smarter. So if you want to avoid looking like a scam, this is a really easy thing to do too. Now, let's slide into this topic, and it's about payment and what you're doing and how you're using it, okay? Listen, I am totally not ignorant because I've been doing this for a long time, and I understand that payment options are very different depending on where you live. And I understand too that there are some countries that do not allow PayPal. There are some countries as well that PayPal takes a crap load from you. And so along with that, I want you to consider that PayPal cut or that platform's cut from your cost of doing business. For example, I have a few clients that live in South America. And so one country in particular, I forget which one it is, but they take half of whatever you take off of PayPal. So literally, like if you ask for $100, you actually get 50 and the government takes the other 50. Kind of sucks, right? And so what I told my mentee when she told me this was that she needed to go ahead and price adjust for that, expecting that to happen. And so just as an example, they were only charging like $100-ish when they started with me, and by the time they ended with me, they were charging over $500 on the reg, all right? And so again, nobody cared where they live. And I encouraged her and I showed her how to go ahead and increase the value of her work and go ahead and pivot herself into a really, really good niche so that she could demand that as well. And that's how she did it, because she needed to account for that cost that PayPal would take. This is no different from the US, by the way, too. I say the same thing for people that are using platforms. And by the way, on that note, you might want to go ahead and take a look at platforms that will take care of that for you, that can therefore deposit into your preferred method of payment. Definitely go ahead and consider how much you're getting and how much that platform is going to take so that you can actually make some money off it. Wouldn't that be great? Next, this is going to be hard for you. And I understand the consideration I'm going to ask you to make right now, but I just want to put this out there at the forefront here. I have no problem asking for 4 figures for my artwork. I regularly do not really like to do anything for less than $500. And yes, I've been doing this a long time, but I'm also going to put this out there. I do not come from any affluence. I did not have any advantages. I was born into an economically pretty poor situation. Neither one of my parents are really great at their job, nor are they high earning people, nor were they ever. And I still have this idea that I can do this, which sounds delusional to people. And so for you, friend, the number one thing holding you back from that is getting out of your own wallet. And so for you, you might think, well, Sean, I could never pay, you yourself, you'd be like, I could never pay $150 for an artwork. Awesome. I have never paid that much either. That's okay. You do not have to price yourself based on what you would pay for or what you value it at, or that you determine that you would pay for it. The reality here is that other people can. I mean, listen, no matter what country you go to, there's luxury shops popping up everywhere, okay? That doesn't stop them. It shouldn't stop you either, because art is a luxury. And look, I understand if you're arrested by thinking about how people would be so irresponsible to spend that much money on it in your country. I get it, that's sweet. However, though, my advice for you is take care of your own house before you worry about someone else's financial irresponsibility. And as a great example of this one too, I have another mentee that lives in Singapore, and she literally got an $1,100 commission on VGen to go ahead and make some commercial assets. Nobody knows where she lives, and nobody cares. And she still got that much money. I know plenty of other artists I've worked with in Eastern Europe, in Southern Africa, in South America, and in many other places like this that are commanding over $200 up to $1,000 and beyond because they got past their own limits by what they thought that they should charge and what they would pay themselves. Now, go ahead, close your wallet and let other people open theirs up to you. Next, let's talk about this topic because I know this is going to come up from you and you might feel bad asking for a certain price or beyond what you're comfortable with or beyond what other people think. And we'll talk about what other people think in a minute. And I just want to present it to you like this, okay? Are you trying to scam somebody? Well, you're not, right? Obviously. You want to deliver service. You want to go ahead and make something beautiful for somebody else. That's an amazing gift. If you are not trying to scam somebody, why do you feel bad about asking for it? Because you might think too that asking for greater economic wealth for yourself, in whatever form that takes, is going to be greed. It is not. If you're delivering value to a client, if you are going to deliver an amazing experience for them, if you're going to listen to them and respond to their needs and do an amazing job with them, what do you have to feel bad about? Because falling into any of those traps is just a blueprint for poverty. And I understand this because we've been taught, especially for people that are not born into very privileged spaces, you are literally brainwashed into thinking that money equals evil. And it does not, friends. It's not. Objectively, that's not true. Plenty of people do terrible things with no money. Terrible people do a lot of awful things with a lot of money. It depends on the person, not on the bank account. And so value is not up to you to decide nor place upon it. But you should value your own art efforts and your own future. Moving on, I want to tell you how much potential you have that you are so afraid to bust open the doors with, and I want to be that sledgehammer for you, so let's go. So because of the fact that you are poor in your country, you are actually rich with opportunity. Because of this fact, you can go ahead and you have the potential to go ahead and be so substantially comfortable using your art and selling your art at respectable prices by doing the things that I'm going through this video with you today. Way more easily than anybody sitting in an economic superpower country. Myself, I'm obviously from the US, I've said it before, but it takes a lot of money to sustain yourself. I have a family, I have a wife, 2 kids, I have a house, so I have to bring in a certain amount. Then maybe if I lived in an economically disadvantaged country. So here's a great example. So I happen to know a fellow YouTuber, his name is Wesley Edwards Art. He's not like a crazy like Sam Does Art level artist here on YouTube, but he interviewed me a couple of years back. And so he lives in Thailand, okay? He's a US born citizen, moved to Thailand. And so one of the things he told me is that he literally only needs to do one $150 commission, and that supports him for an entire month. And he does it when he feels like it to a particular client that he feels like working with. And that blew my mind. Like, that's awesome. That's so encouraging for you, thinking that you have to do things a certain way at only a certain price point, and that's all you're ever going to get. Listen, if you want to go ahead and be one of those people that drop in my comments, well, Sean, I only need $20 to go ahead and live for my month. Okay, great. What if you made $200? That's like a whole year for you, right? What if you made $500? Oh my God. What if you went ahead and actually priced yourself up? And think about this, not just for you, friend, not just to show, not for vanity. What if you did this for your family, for your future family? What if you did this so that you could give your children something that everybody around you doesn't have? What if you could bring yourself up? What if you could be the one that changes the entire course of life for generations of your family? All because you learned today that you don't have to price your artwork at $15 because you see other people doing it. How amazing would that be for you? Because that is your greatest advantage. Definitely seize it, please. Next, I'm going to address a big elephant in the room that you are most definitely going to hit. You can't avoid this. And it's going to be dealing with people around you. It's going to be about what they think about what you're doing. and what they will tell you that you can or you can't do. And so I have another artist in South America that I work with who thought that she was just doomed to go ahead and work in her family's shop. And they did not support her art whatsoever. They thought, because most people do, especially if you're not in a place where it actually pays well, that it's just a hobby. It's just fun, it's for frills. But one of the things I told her is you need to just stay true and you need to stay your course and show them what you can do and show them what you can get. And over the course of literally 6 months, she changed her entire family's perception about her art. And this is all just because she stayed true and they saw what she was capable of earning and they saw, too, proof of it. And you can't argue with proof. Now, her family supports her, everything that she does, she works less at her family's job, more on her art. And that could be you too if you're in this similar circumstance. Wouldn't that be great? And so what I want to encourage you to do is when people come to attack you, when people tell you, you can't charge this, you can't do that, oh my God, who are you to go ahead and do that? And this also kind of brings up that even your local art friends, you might be in some local art Discord groups, you might be in some Facebook groups if you're of that age too, and they'll tell you, oh, no. Where we live, we don't ask for that. We can't get that. That's impossible. No, you need to do this. You might be in a friend group as well. Again, I've known quite a lot of people that I've worked with over in Eastern Asia. Shout out to you all. And they'll literally tell me that they feel bad asking for what they want or more than what their friends get. Or they might feel like they're not as good of an artist as somebody else who's asking for way less. I want to be that person, that voice of reason right now, tell you that does not matter, friend. And so, for example, I also have another mentee of mine that lives in Eastern Europe. And she told me, point blank, that she did not feel worth it to go ahead and charge more than all of her friends. And then the beautiful part here is that as soon as she started to do that, and she started to make really awesome money on this one, like 4 figures a month when I'm saying this, then she all of a sudden felt all of her friends asking, well, how did you do this? How do I do that? First off, you should definitely go ahead and hit that like and subscribe because that's what she did and that's how she learned about it too. But what if you now serve as, ready for it, a model? You could be a beacon, you could be that lighthouse. Show people the way, show that there is just a possibility of it. Because the spark for you to ignite all of your future art passions is always with understanding there's a possibility for it. And if you can show people that way, you get to give back to your community, give back to other artists, and give back in a super meaningful way. I want you to do that. Now I'm gonna get feisty with you, okay? Because I understand how people where you live want to sell their work. And this is not exclusive to where you live, this is everywhere. It's a global problem. And you're gonna think that you should go ahead and, ready for it, use a commission sheet. Great idea. Everybody does it over here. Everybody does it over there. Oh, people on this platform have to do it there. Trash advice. And I'm going to tell you that if you're doing this, especially for where you live, especially at the pricing that you're currently telling everybody that you think that you're worth, this is a major deterrent for you ever getting anything more than what you're currently getting right now. And to tell you all about that, go ahead and check out this video right here. I'm going to warn you everything you never heard about commission sheets. Stop using them. Thanks so much, and if this helped you, share with somebody that you know. See you next time.